Hey everyone, and welcome to the Deep Dive. Get ready because today we are diving headfirst into the world of UFOs, government secrets, and some pretty wild theories about our place in the cosmos.
Yeah, it's gonna be a wild ride.
And to make things even more interesting,
Mm.
we're going to be drawing on a whole range of sources. Like we've got declassified government documents, eyewitness accounts, ancient texts, even some insights from modern science. It's
Mhm.
it's going to be like trying to put together a puzzle with pieces from like 5 different boxes.
And that's what makes it so much fun. We're not here to tell you what to believe or debunk every crazy idea out there.
No way. This is about exploration. We're
Yeah,
here to see what these sources have to say and kind of follow the threads wherever they lead.
exactly. It's all about encouraging critical thinking, considering different perspectives and ultimately coming to your own conclusions.
And who knows, maybe we'll even uncover a few more questions along the way. So,
Yeah.
are you ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's kick things off with a Cold War mystery that might send shivers down your spine. We're going to be looking at some declassified documents that were highlighted in a video by the infographics show.
Right. These documents reveal some pretty strange UFO sightings, specifically around nuclear facilities during the Cold War era.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating is that these reports aren't just coming from the U.S. We're seeing eerily similar accounts from both the U.S. and the Soviet Union.
Which is crazy considering the Iron Curtain and all the secrecy surrounding their nuclear programs.
It is, yeah. It's almost like there was something else going on, something that transcended the political divisions of the time.
Okay, so let's talk about some specifics here.
Yeah.
Do you remember that incident at Malmstrom Air Force Base back in 1967, the one in Montana where a bunch of nuclear missiles just inexplicably went offline?
Oh, yeah, yeah. That was a strange one. There were reports of a glowing red, oval-shaped object hovering just outside the front gate. Yeah. And Lieutenant Robert Salas, who was on duty that night, described it as a glowing red object that was like pulsating.
Right, and Salas has been very vocal about his belief that this wasn't just a random sighting. He believes it was a message, maybe even a warning about the dangers of nuclear weapons.
Oh, wow. That's pretty intense. And this wasn't even an isolated incident, right?
No, not at all. Just a few years later, in 1980, we have the RAF Bentwaters Woodbridge incident over in England. UFOs were sighted near a base that housed nuclear weapons, and get this, there were reports of the weapon systems actually malfunctioning.
Whoa. So we've got these two incidents years apart on opposite sides of the world, both involving UFO sightings and nuclear weapons.
It definitely suggests a possible connection, doesn't it? A connection between UFO activity and nuclear technology that we still don't fully understand.
It's pretty mind-blowing. Okay, so we've talked about potential connections to nuclear weapons, but it doesn't end there. There's a video called Universe Inside You that suggests these UFOs might have an even more protective role.
Oh, right. Like they might be intervening in nuclear disaster.
Yeah, exactly. They examine some really interesting cases in this video, starting with the 1986 Chernobyl meltdown. Did you know that plant employees reported seeing a UFO hovering over the damaged reactor?
Hmm. That sounds familiar, but it's hard to believe, isn't it?
I know, I know. But here's the thing. Years later, the Russian newspaper Pravda came out and claimed that this UFO actually helped to bring the radiation level down, preventing a nuclear blast.
Well, a single newspaper article isn't exactly hard evidence, but it's still a fascinating detail, you have to admit.
Oh, absolutely. And then we have the 2011 Fukushima disaster in Japan. Multiple UFO sightings were reported during that meltdown, too. And despite some serious damage to the cooling system, a complete meltdown, like the kind that could have made huge parts of Japan uninhabitable, was averted.
Yeah, that is interesting. And the Fukushima connection doesn't stop there either.
No, yeah.
During the 2016 earthquake, another UFO sighting coincided with an averted meltdown at the plant. It's
Right.
it's like there might be a pattern here, these events separated by time and geography, but all suggesting that something intervened, some force with really advanced capabilities stepping in to lessen the impact of these nuclear events.
It's a pretty wild thought, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like some kind of cosmic guardian angel looking out for us. But who or what could be behind these UFOs?
Well, this is where things get even more interesting. There's a video called All About Pleiadian Starseeds that introduces a very specific candidate, the Pleiadians.
Oh, yeah, the Pleiadians.
Yes.
They're often described as this advanced extraterrestrial race hailing from the Pleiades star cluster.
Right, and they're often depicted as humanoid, tall, with blonde hair, blue eyes, and white skin.
Hmm.
And And get this, they're said to be on a mission to assist humanity with our spiritual evolution and our transition to a higher state of consciousness. Yeah, like they're these cosmic mentors guiding us toward a better world. They call it a new Earth.
That's amazing. And what's so interesting is that this description of the Pleiadians actually aligns with some pretty specific alien encounter stories. Like, remember Peter Curry's encounter back in 1992?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Wasn't he paralyzed in bed with this woman straddling him?
Yeah, and he described her as having blonde hair and milky white skin, which is pretty much spot on with the Pleiadian descriptions. But here's where it gets really strange. After the encounter, Curry found a single hair on his bed.
And this hair, wasn't it analyzed in a lab?
It was.
Yeah.
And the lab results show that it was optically clear, like fishing line. Even stranger, it contained 2 distinct DNA types, one associated with Celtic lineage and the other with a rare Chinese lineage. The scientists were totally baffled. They said they'd never seen anything like it.
Wow. So you've got eyewitness testimony and then boom, physical evidence that seems to defy explanation. It really makes you wonder about the nature of DNA, the possibilities of extraterrestrial biology, and maybe even the limits of our own scientific understanding.
It's like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. But
Yeah.
this Pleiadian connection, it's not just about alien encounters, you know.
Yeah.
It actually ties into some ancient traditions and even the origins of humanity itself.
Oh, yeah, like the Cherokee tradition. They believe their ancestors came from the Pleiades as star seeds. This idea of extraterrestrial origins, it aligns with what the Pleiadians are all about, helping humanity to evolve.
And the Pleiades star cluster itself has held a special significance across cultures for like forever. The ancient Egyptians, the Scandinavians, the Romans, the Chinese, they all had myths and stories about the Pleiades, often associating it with knowledge, protection, divinity even.
And here's a fun fact. Many cultures refer to the Pleiades as having 7 stars, even though only 6 are easily visible to the naked eye.
Whoa. It's like they had access to knowledge that we've lost, or maybe you're just rediscovering.
Exactly. It's like a whisper from the past, hinting at a deeper connection to the cosmos than we currently realize.
I love that. A whisper from the past. And speaking of rediscovering knowledge, let's talk about Francis Crick, you know, the Nobel laureate who co-discovered DNA.
Oh yeah, Crick. He wasn't afraid to think outside the box. He developed the theory of directed panspermia, which basically suggests that life on Earth was seeded by an advanced alien civilization.
Right. And what's even more mind-blowing is that Crick's theory actually aligns with some of the findings from the Human Genome Project. They discovered that like 97% of human DNA is non-coding what Crick called junk DNA.
Wait, so you're saying that this junk could actually be remnants of our extraterrestrial origins?
It's a possibility, isn't it? Like maybe it contains dormant genes or information from our ancient alien ancestors.
It's a wild thought. But our conversation takes an even more, let's say, unexpected turn when we consider the claims of someone who actually had some insider knowledge, Ham Eshed, the former head of Israel's space program.
Oh yeah, what about him?
Well, back in 2020, he made headlines when he claimed that an intergalactic space federation has been collaborating with world governments, including the U.S., for decades.
Whoa, hold on. He said that.
He did. And he even went on to say that there are agreements in place to keep this information from the public, you know, to avoid mass panic and all that.
And given what we know about government secrecy, especially when it comes to matters of national security, it's not so easy to just dismiss his claims, is it?
It's definitely something to think about. It makes you wonder, what else might they be hiding? What other secrets are lurking beneath the surface of our official narratives?
Okay, so we've got potential government cover-ups, ancient mysteries, mind-bending scientific possibilities. Now let's dive into a source that explores a deeper, even more ancient layer of this whole enigma, the Emerald Tablets of Thoth.
Ah, yes, the Emerald Tablets. The Spirit Science video delves into these tablets, claiming that they're like a record of Earth's history, channeled by Thoth, an Atlantean priest king who supposedly founded a colony in ancient Egypt after Atlantis was destroyed. They describe the Atlanteans as a super advanced psychic civilization that fell from grace because of the influence of beings from Mars.
I know. It sounds like something straight out of a fantasy novel. But even if we take the video's presentation with a grain of salt, there's some really curious details that that actually resonate with the other sources we've been talking about.
Right, like Thoth being credited with building the Great Pyramid, not as a tomb, but as a key part of this Christ consciousness grid designed to help humanity evolve. This idea of a global network of energy points, it lines up with research on Auli lines and interconnectedness that folks like Richard Hoagland have been looking into.
And there's this other wild claim, a special airship, a protector for the whole planet, supposedly hidden beneath the Sphinx, connected to this grid, and powered by consciousness itself. The video even describes an incident from 1989 where a woman in Peru allegedly accessed this airship using her own consciousness to repel a gray alien takeover.
So we're talking about the power of consciousness, its potential role in shaping reality, and maybe even some hidden history of our planet that we're only just beginning to uncover.
It's amazing. So are we just pawns in some grand cosmic game, or do we actually have the power to influence the outcome?
That's a question we'll definitely be exploring in part 2 of our deep dive.
You bet we will. Stay tuned.
We'll be delving deeper into the mysteries of consciousness, the nature of reality itself, and the potential for humanity to play a more active role in shaping its destiny.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We're picking up right where we left off, exploring those mind-bending connections between UFOs, ancient mysteries, and the potential for, well, a consciousness shift that could redefine humanity's place in the cosmos. What do you think?
Yeah, in part 1, we met the Pleiadians, remember? These benevolent beings that are supposedly, guiding humanity towards a new Earth, right?
Right. But how does this idea of a new Earth tie into that larger picture of consciousness and reality itself? It seems like the Spirit Science video really dives into a concept that, well, it might just stretch our perception a bit.
Yeah.
Dimensional levels, and the idea that consciousness can actually shape reality. Whoa.
That's right. It's a pretty big concept.
Okay, so break this down for me.
Sure.
What are dimensional levels?
Okay, so think of it this way. Imagine a fish swimming in a pond. It's aware of its own little world, but it can't grasp the concept of the world outside the water. You know what I mean? Well, we, as humans, are kind of like that fish. We're mostly confined to our perception of the third dimension.
I guess you're saying there are other dimensions beyond our perception.
And that's exactly what the Spirit Science video claims. It draws on a range of, let's say, esoteric sources, and suggests that there are multiple dimensions of existence, each with its own level of awareness. And humans, in our current state, are mostly anchored to the third dimension, but we have the potential to access higher dimensions.
So if we could access these higher dimensions, what would it be like? Would we suddenly have superpowers?
Well, maybe not superpowers in the comic book sense, but as we evolve and raise our consciousness, we could potentially gain access to abilities and knowledge that would seem, well, impossible from our current limited perspective.
Like what kind of abilities? Give me some examples.
Sure. Telepathy, astral projection, the ability to manipulate energy. These are just a few examples. It's pretty mind-blowing stuff.
That is wild. But how did the Pleiadians fit into all of this?
Well, remember that the Pleiadians are often depicted as beings from a higher dimension, a realm of expanded awareness, right? The video claims that Thoth, that Atlantean priest king, was actually a sixth dimensional being, and that he helped create this Christ consciousness grid on Earth, a network of energy points that's designed to raise our collective consciousness and help us access those higher dimensions. It's a lot to take in.
Okay, I'm going to need a minute to process all of this. We've got multidimensional beings, a consciousness grid, the potential for humans to evolve beyond our current limitations. Wow, it's a lot.
It is a complex concept, and honestly one that's kind of difficult to fully grasp from our current third-dimensional perspective. But if we consider all those recurring themes that we've been talking about, the potential for higher intelligence, the emphasis on consciousness, that idea of alien intervention, it does start to paint a picture of a reality that's much more expansive than we might imagine.
I'm starting to see the connections here. It's like we're putting together a puzzle, but the pieces are, well, from a dimension beyond our usual understanding. Okay, so this Christ consciousness grid, what's its purpose? How does it work?
The video suggests that Thoth actually constructed the Great Pyramid, not as a tomb, but as a key component of this grid. It's aligned with specific energy points on Earth, and remember that mysterious airship we talked about, the one that's supposedly hidden beneath the Sphinx?
Yeah, I remember.
Well, it's thought to be connected to this grid too. And this airship, it's claimed, can be accessed and controlled by those who have a high enough level of consciousness, basically acting as a protector for the planet.
So it's like a giant energy network designed to, raise our consciousness and protect the Earth.
Yeah.
But if this grid is so powerful, Why haven't we tapped into its full potential yet?
That's a good question. Well, according to the video, we are in the midst of a consciousness shift, a transition to a higher dimensional level, what they call a new Earth. And this shift is happening on multiple levels. We can see it in the increasing interconnectedness of the world, the rise of spiritual awareness, and even the growing understanding of the power of the mind.
So are you saying that as we evolve and become more aware, this grid will become more accessible to us and we'll be able to use it to, unlock our full potential as a species?
That's the idea. It's a vision of humanity transcending its current state, evolving into something much greater than we are now. It's a vision that, well, that resonates with a lot of spiritual and philosophical traditions throughout history.
But it all sounds a little too good to be true, doesn't it?
Mm.
Are there any downsides to this consciousness shift? What about those gray aliens that we talked about earlier? Do they play a role in all of this?
You raise a good point. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. The video does suggest that there are forces that might want to prevent or even exploit this shift for their own benefit.
So the gray aliens, they might be trying to hold us back from reaching our full potential.
Well, that's one interpretation. The video portrays them as representing a force that feeds off of fear, and lower vibrational energy. It suggests that they might be trying to control or manipulate humanity in some way.
So it's like a cosmic tug of war,
Yeah.
a battle for consciousness between forces of light and darkness.
Exactly. And the spirit science video really emphasizes that our choices, our actions, even our thoughts contribute to the outcome of this struggle.
It's both empowering and a little terrifying, isn't it?
Yeah.
Knowing that we have a role to play in this cosmic drama.
It is, but it's also a call to awareness, to responsibility. It suggests that we are not just passive observers in this unfolding story, but active participants with the power to shape the future of humanity and even the planet itself.
Okay, so we've got multidimensional beings, ancient airships, a battle for consciousness. But what about the practical stuff? What about actual evidence, something tangible that we can point to?
Yeah, that's where things get a little trickier. The spirit science video is definitely heavy on esoteric concepts and ancient myths, but it's a little light on what we might consider scientific proof. However, it does connect these ideas to some intriguing findings from the scientific world.
Like Francis Crick's theory of directed panspermia.
Exactly. The idea that life on Earth was seeded by aliens. The video ties this theory into the Human Genome Project's discovery that 97% of human DNA is non-coding, what Crick called junk DNA.
Right, so they're suggesting that this junk DNA might hold the key to our extraterrestrial origins, like maybe it contains dormant genes or information from our ancient alien ancestors, right?
Precisely. It's like we're carrying around a hidden history, a cosmic blueprint within our very cells. And as we evolve, as our consciousness expands, perhaps we'll unlock the secrets that are hidden within this junk DNA.
But is there any scientific evidence to support this idea?
Well, some researchers point to the unusual complexity of this non-coding DNA, and they talk about its potential role in regulating gene expression. They argue that it's much too sophisticated to just be junk, and that it might contain information that's beyond our current understanding.
That's fascinating. It's like we're on the verge of cracking a cosmic code, revealing a whole new layer of our origins and potential. But let's shift gears for a moment and talk about something a little more concrete. The physical characteristics and behaviors of these UFOs. I mean, we've got all these stories and theories, but what do we actually know about these objects themselves?
That's where a recently declassified document comes in. It's referred to as Canon 212, and it provides details about what the military has observed and documented regarding, well, UAPs. That stands for Unidentified Aerial Phenomena.
Okay, so Canon 212 gives us a glimpse into the official world of UFO observations. What kind of information does it contain?
One of the most striking things about this document is, well, the sheer variety of shapes and sizes that have been reported by military personnel. I mean, we're not just talking about flying saucers here. There are spheres, orbs, triangles, boomerang-shaped objects, even things described as jellyfish or metallic orbs.
Wow, that's a lot of variety. It makes you wonder if we're dealing with a single phenomenon or multiple different types of objects or even technologies. What do you think?
Well, the document tries to categorize these shapes into several broad groups, each with its own set of characteristics. So we have spheres, which are often described as smooth and featureless, suggesting a simple design. Then you've got the classic disc or saucer shapes, often with domes and occasionally featuring protrusions or appendages.
It sounds like something straight out of a science fiction movie.
It does. And then there are the more unusual shapes, like triangles, often described as equilateral, sometimes with lights or protrusions at the corners. And then there are get this, the tic-tac shaped objects, which seem to defy our understanding of aerodynamics, maintaining a stable position even at super high speeds and during rapid maneuvers.
Kit-Kat shaped, what, like the candy?
Yeah, exactly. It does sound a little funny, but the reports are pretty consistent and suggest a level of technology that's far beyond anything we've been able to develop.
So we've got these strange shapes, but what about their behavior? Do they just fly around aimlessly, or is there a pattern to their movements?
Their behavior is probably the most intriguing aspect of this whole thing. The document describes UAPs exhibiting capabilities that seem to defy our understanding of physics. They make rapid, instantaneous accelerations, they move at hypersonic speeds, they can even hover silently and then disappear in an instant. It's like they're bending the laws of physics.
Exactly. There are reports of them changing direction abruptly, like they're defying inertia, and performing maneuvers that would be impossible for any known aircraft. And they've been observed transiting rapidly through restricted airspace, seemingly unconcerned with, being detected or intercepted. It's like they're playing a game with us.
Maybe. And then there are even reports of UAPs interacting with military aircraft, sometimes in ways that suggest an awareness of our presence and capabilities. One case that was highlighted in the document involves a UAP that rapidly approached a military aircraft and then mirrored its movements, almost as if it was observing or even communicating in some way. It's really fascinating.
It's definitely mind-blowing stuff. It makes you question everything you thought you knew about what's possible, what's real, and what might be out there in the vastness of space.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we're alone?
Well, the Canon 212 document, while heavily redacted, offers a glimpse into this world of official UFO observations. And it suggests that the government has been taking these reports very seriously, documenting them, analyzing them, and trying to figure out what it all means. It makes you wonder what they've learned, what they know, and what they might not be telling us.
It's like a puzzle with so many missing pieces or obscured pieces. But even the fragments we do have access to are enough to spark the imagination. What if these UAPs are real? What if they represent a technology or intelligence beyond anything we can currently comprehend? What does that mean for humanity? Are we alone in the universe, or are we part of something much larger, more complex?
Those are the questions we'll continue to explore in part 3 of our deep dive. We'll delve into the implications of these observations, the possibilities for contact, and the potential impact of this knowledge on our understanding of ourselves, our place in the cosmos, and the very nature of reality itself. It's going to be a great discussion.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've journeyed from Cold War mysteries to ancient myths, from declassified documents to those mind-bending encounters, and now is time to face the ultimate question. What does it all mean?
Right. I mean, if we even just entertain the possibility that these accounts, these hints of something just beyond our grasp, hold even a grain of truth, the implications are huge for humanity, I mean.
Yeah. It's a question that sends shivers down my spine and sparks a sense of wonder all at the same time, Are we truly alone in the universe? Are there other intelligent beings out there? Technologies beyond our wildest dreams? Dimensions we can't even perceive?
Yeah, it really forces us to kind of confront our fundamental understanding of who we are, where we fit in this grand scheme of the cosmos, even what reality is.
I keep coming back to this idea. If we're not the only intelligent life in the universe, does it diminish our achievements, our struggles, everything that makes us human?
That's a question that's haunted philosophers and scientists for centuries. But I think it's possible to see it from another perspective, too. What if the existence of extraterrestrial life actually expands our sense of wonder, reminding us that we're part of something much greater than we ever imagined?
That's a beautiful way to look at it. Instead of, shrinking our significance, it actually amplifies it. It opens up a whole new realm of possibilities for connection, understanding, maybe even inspiration.
Right. Imagine the knowledge we could gain, the technologies we might discover, the ways in which our understanding of the universe and ourselves could be transformed.
Okay, but let's be realistic here for a second. What about the potential risks? We've explored those ideas of, benevolent beings like the Pleiadians, but what if not all extraterrestrial intelligence is so friendly? What if they have different agendas, different values,
Yeah.
or even see us as a threat?
That's definitely a possibility that we can't ignore. Science fiction has, it's explored these scenarios for decades, right? From alien invasions to well-intentioned interventions that go horribly wrong. And even though those are just stories, they raise some important questions about, about the potential consequences of contact.
Yeah. The spirit science video even suggests that we're caught in the middle of a cosmic drama, a battle for consciousness between forces of light and darkness.
It's a pretty powerful concept, and it resonates throughout human history, through mythology. The idea of a struggle between, good and evil, light and shadow, it's deeply embedded in our collective consciousness.
So if we're not just bystanders in this cosmic drama, but active participants, I mean, what does that mean for us? How do we make sure we're on the right side of this battle?
That's where this whole idea of conscious evolution comes in. The spirit science video emphasizes that our choices, our actions, even our thoughts, all contribute to the outcome of this cosmic struggle. It suggests that we have a responsibility to become more aware, to align ourselves with the forces of light, and to make choices that benefit not just ourselves, but the entire planet.
So it's not just about waiting for aliens to arrive or hoping for a magical consciousness shift. It's about, actively working to raise our own consciousness, to become more compassionate, more understanding, more connected to the world around us.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we're not just isolated individuals, but interconnected beings, part of this web of life that extends far beyond our individual selves.
But where do we even begin? It all feels so overwhelming.
I know. It can be daunting, but maybe the first step is simply to cultivate a sense of open-mindedness and curiosity.
So be willing to question our assumptions, explore different perspectives, consider possibilities that might seem outlandish at first glance.
Exactly. We need to step outside our comfort zones, expand our understanding of what's possible, embrace the unknown.
And maybe, just maybe, like the spirit science video suggests, the answers lie not just out there, but within ourselves. Maybe by delving into our own consciousness, exploring our untapped potential, we can unlock the keys to understanding these mysteries. What do you think?
It's a fascinating thought that the truth we seek isn't found in distant galaxies or ancient texts, but in the depths of our own being. Maybe through meditation, introspection, or even just paying attention to our intuition, we can connect to a deeper level of knowing.
Wow. This deep dive has definitely been a mind-expanding experience. I mean, we've encountered so many intriguing ideas, so many unanswered questions. It's hard to know where to go from here.
But that's the beauty of it all, right? The journey of discovery never truly ends. We have to keep questioning, keep seeking, keep learning, keep evolving.
Well said. So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a final thought. What role will you play in shaping the future? If we're truly on the cusp of a consciousness shift, like those emerald tablets suggest, how will you contribute to a more